Certifiable but not insane. Certifiable but not insane. Certifiable but not insane. Certifiable but not
And I think
insane.
those can both be I think it's basically the Ein Sof of a area of the Kabbalists, of the Hermetic Kabbalists.
Certifiable but
Ein
not
Sof equals
insane.
Nuit equals Wuji. Major was my major discovery that led me
Certifiable but not
to
insane.
know that I was on track. Of course, I mean, I don't know if I'm telling the truth exactly there, because I
Certifiable
figured
but not
a
insane.
bunch of, snicky dickies out. But then
Certifiable
I was
but
eventually
not
able to
insane.
know then that the Tao was not quite the Hadit top area, but it's the child, because the Tao is the way equaled the infinite way. It's like all the ways. It's like every which way but loose, or every which way you can. It's like every which way. The Tao is every which way. It's the way. And geomancy, the four dots is via, and that's way, and that's the top geomancy symbol. So it's will right away. It's the way, but the Tao is actually the Ein Sof R as the infinite way, but Ein Sof R equals light without limit. So I think there's a little bit of an association with the etymology of Tao with light, but and 207, yeah, it is associated with 207. The ancient etymology I was trying to remember, it's I think it's DRG or DRG probably. And that's 207 in Hebrew. Dalet, Resh, Gamel. So DRG,
DRG
and then that's
equals
207,
AUR
which equals R.
in Hebrew.
And
207.
Hebrew is
The way
Aleph,
is the light.
Vol,
Way equals light.
Resh. So you've got a direct parallel with way equals light, and so the infinite light equals the infinite way. So fits right in. So the Tao is the Ein Sof R, and then actually the Keter point is the day. That's the virtue being expressed of the infinite light. So the infinite light beyond all manifestation, and then you have the Big Bang of creation. That's the day. That's the virtue, and that's the
as well as virtue,
the fullness
so it is actually
of the
the
Tao,
power,
which is kind of the empty.
which would be
It's
the
like the
expression,
fullness, the chrysos,
and
the gold
a
fullness,
bit more of the
pure light, love,
exteriorization.
beautiful
The
child, the
exteriorization.
infinite child, the infinitely sacred child being expressed. Each universe is.
Of the
Each holy universe is the
golden
infinite sacred child.
sun, like a sun,
Basically. So I was glad I was able to come
blowing up
to that
into the
conclusion, but I was actually trying to prelude this. So I'm actually preluding this entire talk, and now we're getting into
some kind of
the lower
field
kind of tree of life.
into
So
the Bindu
that all infinite sacred child phoenix gnosis of the Ein Sof R pinpoints itself into a self-realized universal creation point that is, of course, beyond space and time, but space and time manifests right at that Bindu creation point. That's the physical parallel to the probability wave collapse. So at the number one, the probability wave does collapse into the Bindu, which precedes each universe's creation and creativity. It's Tov. Up there is the Jehovah formula. So I've been able to prove that the Jehovah formula is true. God equals 26, both in English and Hebrew. Yehovah, it's the four letter, it's the quaternity. So you've got will, love, light. Will plus love plus light equals magic. And right at that fourth, that's right when the self-realized universe is born. And that's actually the dot of the Jehovah formula. So you've got mother, you've got father, mother, son. But originally you've got father, mother, child, and that first child, that's a completely hermaphroditic child. So you've got sulfur, salt, mercury, and then the mercury is the complete unity. So absolutely, there's a sulfur, salt, mercury right at the top of creation, which is father, mother, child. And that child is originally purely hermaphroditic.
The non-manifest Trinity.
And the only difference between the 3 and the 4
above the number 1 in the Kabbalah.
The fourth child part divides between the son and the daughter. So it gets 6 between
the middle between. Let me clarify my last point, please. So we're talking about the Ein of the Kabbalah, and there is a Trinity up there, a non-manifest Trinity, and the word formula is Ein Sof R in Hebrew, meaning no limit light. So it's actually withoutness, beyondness, limitlessness, without limit, no limit, without limit, and then light without limit, qualified with the Hebrew word R, A-U-R, which is the qualifier for that level. So you know it's something to do with light, really. So there's that Trinity up there, which is actually correlates to father, mother, child, is my major philosophy. Once I examined the Trinity, I knew there was a placement, and I placed the Ein Sof as without limit to the Chinese word Wu Ji, because Wu Ji is without ridgepole, and if you imagine a type of Chinese house, the ridgepole is what the support of the roof is based on, right at the center of the top. So if something does not have that ridgepole, it basically does not have the roof or the top 2 sides of the house. So there's various philosophies, but sometimes that was called the Great Distinction and correlated to the Taijitu. But that's not really it. It's Wu Ji without ridgepole is actually without 2 sides, without the 2 sides. So in the Taoism, it started to be glyphed as just the calligraphy of a black circle with on a white piece of paper, so that the center and the outside were both white, and so no distinction except for the white limit sign of limitlessness, I believe, and that's Nuit of Aleister Crowley's Thelema. So you have for the first time basically me saying that even though there's the Ein region, which is supposed to be untouchable, unfathomable, smack you whore crackers. Okay, sorry, I couldn't resist. But it's not. It's just the Trinity up there, and then the Ein Sof R is the child of the Trinity, which is kind of like just the golden Christ child, or any kind of golden child, kind of gold because of the light aspect. But actually, it doesn't have to be quite, the light could be pure blinding whiteness, I just use the gold reference in standard, so there's a lot of creativity even in these systems. But the white could be the blinding, most spiritual light possible. And then you do get more into the alchemical symbolism of sulfur, salt, mercury as father, mother, child. And that child has no sex, it's beyond sex. The physicality of the either being male or female, it has not been, it has not dropped basically down to that level, and that's the only thing that separates the number 3 from the number 4 up there, in the Ein region, kind of where we're talking about, is that androgynous or hermaphroditic child gets sexed. So the 3 of father, mother, child, where you just have pure potential of the Holy Spirit, what that is. I'm sorry if I've not made it clear, but it's the pure Mercury, which Mercury at that level is correlated to the Pneuma Agion purely. And there's like a famous picture of like Mercurius is like a savior type. Sorry, I don't have these muscles banging just yet there. More eating crayon crackers. But anyway, rolling. So Mercurius is the OG shaman, which is like kind of what I was talking about in my last video. It's Woden, the seething shaman, which is having the gnosis of Shiva. So so it's Shiva and Woden right there at the child level of the Ein Sof. And it's also Jesus Christos, and it can also be actually Satan, if you imagine that name as a gnosis type guy, kind of like rock and roll. So like really dishing out musical ecstasy, basically the ecstasy giver, or like disher outer, the knower, kind of right there is the Ein Sof. So there's a lot of symbolism, but it's all kind of really the child, because the child knows the gnosis. Is kind of the first knower, so it's the first man really kind of up there, even though like the Tree of Life also, I've been able to prove, once you have the Bindu point right here at the Sarasara level, you have the Keter point right here of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, and then right here is the 2 of Chakma. It's Hokmah. Okay, never mind. Hokmah. Okay. Let's do some. It's a Taiji 2 anyway. Sorry, I can't get too bifurcated, especially at this point. So it's love under will. So you imagine will right here and love under here. There's basically a little bit of a phoenix thing here, with a trident right here, the trident of Shiva, but it's a little bit of different symbolism. I've been able to kind of alter the way the Sanskrit letters are upon the chakras, and with my new scheme, it's actually the first letter of the Ajna chakra is V, and the second letter is Sha, and together those 2 letters are actually the letters in the name Shiva. So you have Shiva quite literally as the 2 letters on the Ajna chakra petals. So that is the knower, and that's the third eye. Basically, that third eye blinds and destroys everything, because it's a symbolism of the what it would mean to actually be in physical incarnation with like the complete Ein Sof R, it would be like the theoretical outcome of the Ein Sof R completely manifesting in some kind of physicality and then just like opening up and destroying the universe. But that's just like common sense symbolism of the Ein Sof R. So it's can't. That's why you can't. You don't want to really rep Ein Sof R on your body more than just like a little bit of gold. It's basically hide your goal a little bit, and when implying the Ein Sof R, or else you don't want to get too imbalanced, because it's like it's basically the infinite light of God. So it's Phos Theou. Phos Theou is light of God, and it's 121 in Greek. So that's light of God. So you kind of hide that and just basically rep it below the belt. So you could have like gold, a little bit of Ein Sof R on the legs and feet, kind of like as decor. But that would be a nice way to earth that like golden light. That way people don't get kind of bifurcated in the head a little bit. It's so powerful, you kind of want to minimalize it and ground that. Okay. So I think we're gonna let this video go on because I lost my train of thought probably a long time ago.
3 and the 4, the child gets
3
set.
and the 4.
And then that creates the point of creation, because the daughter gets manifest at that earthly level there, even though it's the Bindu point of creation. And then so it's like father, mother, son, daughter, right at the Bindu point of creation. And now after the Bindu point, the point becomes the Taijitu of the father and mother, of a manifest father and mother in a mid-state of unity. You had that first state of Bindu unity, and now the number 2, the number 2 is in this perpetual harmony of complementarity and wonderful love under will being expressed unity. Okay? So even it's still in the spirit. The 1 and the 2 are still in the realm of the Holy Spirit. So the number 2 will eventually, in love under will, break into the 4.
Okay, stopping it here and explaining that, because let me see if we can work it out. Because there's a very important thing going on in the Ein region of the Hermetic Tree of Life. It can both take on trinary and quaternary symbolism by including Keter. And actually these first correlations blew my mind. It was in 2019. I first began putting that together with the thelemic trinary. I saw through Rahor quit a little bit. It's not really only a kind of Horus representation, a Harusian warrior god. That's only one aspect of the child archetype, you could say. Just a child breadth of symbolism would be the actually more adult, because the child gets born into the son and daughter. So it's really a pretty wide symbolism, actually, the child. And so the child symbolism's not really the child. It's just that's how you would separate it from father, mother, child. So you could say father, mother, child is just but the child has the full gamut of from child to young adulthood is that. So a lot of symbolism. It can be Thoth. The child can be Thoth as pure Mercury. It can take on more Keter. So it's basically the conglomeration of the Ein Sof R and the Keter region, if you want to kind of put it together like that. And that's why like Horus Thoth, if you can think of those two as kind of like a one person. So like maybe just like the eye of Horus is Thoth, like his pristineness and his magic. It's like because Horus and Thoth can also be the transcendent one. You can get real tricky and say Thoth was the original Magus, and because the equation up in the Ein, it's actually a fourfold equation that where the trinary morphs into the quaternary and some kind of mystic level that you just kind of have to preponderate about. But so it's father, mother, son, daughter up in the Ein region of the Tree of Life, and there's numerical equations. It's 444, 323, 121, and 888, and those word equations are do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, love is the law, love under will, and then 121 is brought out in the equation of those two, because 444 minus 323 is 121. So 121 is actually buried in the two major axioms of Crowley's The Book of the Law, Liber Legis, Liber Alva Legis, Liber Alva Legis, Liber Al, AL, basically 31 in Hebrew, God, or just Liber El, Liber Legis, the Book of the Law. It's just a law, Liber El, and then just a big L sign on that book for the equilibrated law, the Lamed, the teaching, the Lamed, the way to equilibration. So let's see. I did forget. Okay, we're still doing Yehovah up in the Ein Sof R region, and how that flipped me out in 2019 because I could see the Thelemic gods were in the Ein region, correlated to Taoism. So I knew the Wuji was the Ein Sof up there. And that circle, and I also kind of know I can't even. The Hadith is the Ein, and he's kind of, and once you get into mythology, he can be ascribed to what is termed the Deus Otiosus, which some researchers believe is the oldest stratum of mythology. So the Deus Otiosus is like a god, a far-off god is what it means, a beyondness god, and that's kind of the prototype of, if you think of the Father as the Ein, he's basically that guy who is off in his maybe Shaivite meditation and not quite attached to the family so much, because in olden times he would be the hunter as well, and they would be off doing their own kind of thing, whereas the women and children would have more of a earthly existence. So that's right at the top, and that's the Yod. That's the Yod of you can pronounce it Yah-O if you want, or Yehovah. Yah-O, you could say Yah-O, Yah-O, Yah-O. That's kind of what the Greek translated Yehovah into. It's Yah-O, so anyway. So it's basically the Yod, and then the Het is the mother, Nu, and then the Vav is the Ein Sof R, and then the He is the Keter point. But originally, you can't really use, you can use the IH symbolism, but it's just basically a byte. So we can start from the beginning, right at the very top of the Ein. There's a bitheism. There is an ultimate bitheism, and that's based upon the Book of the Law, where Nuit says there is no other God than me and my Lord Hadit. So those are the primal two gods. That's the ultimate bitheism of the magical universe. Up there, and where it's up there at the Ein and Ein Sof level of the Tree of Life, the Hermetic Tree of Life, where Ein is Hadit, Ein Sof is Nuit, and that's the two non-manifest primal mathematical necessities that are never born. So you want to tell people to never try to be that ultimate baddest person, or because there's a lot of people try to hung up just on trying to be that best male or female, but the best male and female never manifest. So I'm just telling you that straight up. And Woosters. Anyway, let's see here. So that's the Yehovah at the Ein region of the Tree of Life. But originally, like we were saying, the original it's an original bitheism. But then the bitheism gets like in a letter of communication, a thelemic letter of communication has the words "Do what thou wilt" shall be the whole of the law at the top, and then you write whatever you're saying, and then at the end you say "Love is the law, love under will." So those two axioms get abbreviated magically through English word magic into will and love. So you've got will, love, and that is the primal Taiji relationship of reality. The Book of the Law of Aleister Crowley has a lot of English word magic, I call it, which they put in the exact phrases based upon gematria and everything to have a true philosophy down here on earth, to be able to explain it. So it's basically love under will is the formula of kind of magic of doing right. It's directed love, which is like willed love. So you have a willed love. It's just the natural two opposites given definition as will and love. You can kind of go wisdom, compassion, like and stuff. Get into a little bit other dualities, but we're talking Liber Legis a little bit because that contains the triad. It's the book of three different speakers: the goddess, the god, and then the child of those two. So they made the triad the most sacred kind of component of that book, and I'm telling you, that's up in the Ein region of the Tree of Life of the Kabbalah. So Rahor Quit, most people don't really ascribe that to the actual child archetype as much as probably you should philosophically. And then you don't have to really use Rahor. You can have a blueprint, Liber Legis, and then kind of put in different trinities, because as Liber Legis's foundation is just that Trinity. Okay, Trinity. Yes. So the 3 goes into the 4. So right there at the Ein Sof R is the Mercury point, and that can get as white hot as you want. And so I was able to find, so the thing that blew me away, like we were going, like I was trying to do, this stuff gets a little long because it's like, it needs to be, you need to breathe life into it because it is about total life. It's about the all life of creation and the ultimate mystical uh, philosophy, so called, but really just you can call it the quality of numbers. As I think Lance Storm did that in his Enigma of Number. Probably other writers have done it, but rather than just think of the quantitary or the quantity part of number, think of number as a bit of quality type, where it has symbolism, because it's the most basic way to divide space and therefore reality, and symbolically most likely consciousness. So number divide is the primary way to divide, almost things, like everything. So number is pretty much the skeletal backdrop of space and communication, almost. Like, so even me talking right now, my action, the voice you hear, that's the movement, that's the hadit part, and then the space, the backdrop, which is allowing me to talk to you, is actually the nuit part. So you actually have a yang and yin. My action is yang, and then the space that my voice is vibrating in is yin. But anyway, so the thing that blew me away in 2019 was I was able to ascribe the thelemic gods upon the Ein Sof region of the tree, the Ein region of the tree of life, and then also get the word formula going as will plus love plus light equals magic, and that's the thing I've been trying to spit out. I view that as the universal equation of religion, is what I've kind of termed that. It's always will plus love plus light, and that's going to create the magic. And that it gets like the magic gets congealed into that bindu. At the magic part of the equation is the bindu point of creation, which so you could, like, a magical drop of potential, and magic is, it's 888, so it's like total Thoth Mercury right there. So it's 444 plus 323 plus 121 equals 888. So that blew me away that was embedded in Liber Legis, and it's a super. You really have to listen to Liber Legis beyond. It's kind of a misled itself, maybe into trying to make people think that it was like more hateful than it was. But it's really kind of the warrior code a little bit. But I think it intentionally misled its hatefulness, so to turn people off, and then to let kind of like true, like deeper looking adepts that are examining the English gematria of the ABC 123 primarily unlocks Liber Legis, where A equals 1 and Z equals 26. So you do that on do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and you get 444. You do it on love is the law, love under will, and you get 323. 444 minus 323 is 121. 121 is a hexagram number. It's called a star number, where 37 is the most common star number, and you get the Star of Israel. The Star Israel has the star of probably Judaism is that 37 soul star, because 37 is the Yekada in Hebrew, which is like a soul, so it's just like the yod. It's the yod because it starts, it's acrophonic, which is means both of the words have the same first letter. That's how you can kind of read into Hebrew alphabet symbolism. Do an acrophonic study on the words. That's kind of one of the first ways of Exodus, or yeah, I don't know, whatever. Getting knowledge out of the language, gematria. I call it grammatometria, the measure of the letters. So grammatometria instead of gematria. I just like that word better. So anyway, will plus love plus light equals magic. Right is right up on the top of the creation, and that's kind of the trinary, the hidden trinary, dropping into the quaternary. Once the quaternary, the innate quaternary is formed, the universe is pretty much assured to be created because the final head is the daughter, and that actually does congeal the Bindu point down, like is at the center of a mandala. That is that actual Bindu point that manifests itself into the point. And Thoth, the Hebrew, the Egyptian god of magic, he is actually, beyond other things, he is correlated to that point because he holds the pen of Thoth is the telltale and giveaway sign. That was the ancient record keepers and stuff, and they, just as a point of study and erudition, copying letters down, whatnot, you get honed. You hone your craft of whatever it is. But when you're using high intellect, like some of those people had to do back then, just a function of jobs pretty much, you get honed in. Probably they were doing a little bit of shamanism, a lot of magic, pretty high stuff probably. So, I don't want to shortchange any of the ancient Egyptians that brought that symbolism up, because that's very erudite symbolism of that ibis holding a pen, because they could see that as ibis really struck at those fish very astutely and had a very silent, keen posture. So that's a very high. It's just a peasant observation taken to the height, as we were talking about again. It's just like peasant on the most basic, but then it flows into the more universal type consciousness that transcends time a little bit. So let's do it. I think I explained so there's a top Yehovah formula at the Ein, and what impressed me was that the word formula as well, the Thelemic word formula, where you have those two axioms, and then the letter of all those words, when you type just the chance words you type in the letter, that's actually what gives uniqueness and form to that letter. So it's like creating a painting. The word, the mercurial words and paints you happen to chancely use, always creates something new. And that's the primal, it's correlated to the Holy Spirit and Mercury. So that's the primal mercurial soup that is in between the two opposites of creation. And we can be talking like not even manifest yet as the Ein part. So you have this infinite expansion of limitlessness, just mathematically postulated, and then you have infinite contraction, kind of like what is represented in the universe as a black hole. That's why it's called the hiding of Hadit, because Hadit never manifests, pretty much. It's the zeroness. the primal zeroness. So you have the ultimate zeroness and the ultimate infinity, and their coalescence. So if you have an infinite circle in diameter, every point on that circle is the center of the entirety. Mathematically, because everything's so infinite, everywhere's the center. Okay? So that's the child. That's the child where everywhere is the center. And that's that first golden field of light and of gnosis. Pretty much like the first gnosis is there, because you're kind of pretty much just knowing, like Shiva, the ultimate triadic kind of unity established of father, mother, and child, where the child is that original shaman knower that is Woden and Shiva, the original trance guy, the human trance guy, whatever. So that's pretty good. Let me get that video rolling, brothers. And that's something like totally unheard of in the Kabbalah, because it hasn't been theorized. But right after the two. Okay. So I broke into the two. So after the Bindu, we had that Yehovah formula of IHVH, Yad He Wah. And then after Keter, as that Bindu point, you have the new philosophy that I propagate is the number two is the Taiji 2 of martial arts, of the yin and yang. It's the circle with the two kind of fishes going round and round of the white and black. So the key mystery there is the two opposites are not totally non-united right at first, right after the original point of the Bindu of creation. That would be silly to assume that somehow the father and mother are totally separate right after the total unity of the Bindu. So still, if you imagine a directional circle kind of right now, but right in the center of a circle you have the Bindu. But widen that circle out now, and now you have the Taiji of martial arts, the yin and yang, the yin and yang of martial arts form the Taiji, and that's still considered within the center of the circle, because it's still round at that point. That's the last point of roundness, and it's right at this ajna forehead level of the two brain lobes of the left and right brain. So that's the number two in the Kabbalah of Hokmah. And number one is right up there as the Bindu, the very center point I was talking about. And then after that, which nobody was able to comprehend, and is quite amazing and mystical, is now you get the 4 bigrams of the Yi Jing as the 4 pure elements, and those exist unnumbered around the Taiji. So after the Taiji in the center, the first directional bifurcation would be south, east, west, north as fire, air, water, earth. It begins a completely logic manifestation into plurality at that point, where you've got just the yang and then the yin in order, but it goes in order of bifurcation. So you've got the 4 right there, but you didn't know that heretofore in the Kabbalah, because you just had the number 2 and then the number 3. So the key mystery is the elemental bigram. The 4 elemental bigrams are not numbered, and the proof that I am using to support that, for one, is that the 16 court cards of the minor arcana of the tarot that are the elemental counter changes, they're not numbered either in the tarot. And then it starts with the ace, and then the deuce, and then the 3 through 10. So if you'll note, the court cards are not numbered. Nobody thought to number the elemental court cards of the tarot. Likewise, nobody really wants to number the 4 elements of fire, air, water, and earth. What people really see those as is broad swaths and strokes. One of the best words I say is phase spaces. So they're actually phase spaces of pure prana coming forth out of that mid-state unity of the Taiji-2, where the father and mother are basically still conjoined in love under will. So you've got this beautiful elemental manifestation now of very like pure breath elements, and since they are at the facial area of the body, you can actually correlate them a little bit to the senses. So I would say fire would be the eyes and sight, air would be hearing as the vibrations of sound. Water is actually the smells, the good smells of the nose, and then earth is actually the taste of the mouth. So you have a natural fourfold sense thing there, where I guess Taiji would be a little bit more psi at the sixth sense. But that was earth. Yeah, that was the 4. It was like sight, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, maybe spirit at that point, because it's kind of the abracadabra. So you could put touch as the center. It would have to be, and then knowing, I guess, maybe would be the 6th one. So I don't know. Anyway, off track there. But anyway, that's how the, that is kind of how the Taiji-2 comes down into the planetary trigrams, because it's not readily apparent how the Taiji-2 of the 2 unigrams in conjoinment suddenly come into the first trigram of Saturn right here as Binah. I think this is the Binah Vishuddha Saturn point of the all yang trigram. So you wouldn't really ascribe to that without me telling you that this is the Ajna and Taiji-2 chakra, but somehow there's like a mysterious 4 elements that radiate upon the body, or maybe just right here. I'm not, it's pretty wild theory right there, but it's just like a pure prana descent, because it's the 4 elements, and then upon the direction it would just be south, east, west, north, and then from that point those are the pure cardinal directions, which are symbolized by the 4 equinoxes, where the sun goes into the seasons, the first day of the new seasons. So south is summer, east is spring, west is fall, and north is winter. All right, so we're on the we're on how the elements. So that is the elemental. It goes just the 4 seasons right here, like above the throat chakra. And now the throat chakra becomes directional, like and that will go all through the seasons in an eightfold manner, whereas before it went all through the right after the Taiji 2 drops directionally, it goes through the 4 seasons. So it doesn't stay in one elemental quarter is the main point I'm making. Otherwise, it would never get, because there's an infinite amount of bifurcation. If you started in one quarter and stayed there until everything bifurcated infinitely, you would never leave the that section. You just got infinitely broken down with yourself, rather than permutate fully through all of the gamut at that level. So it goes, so from the unity to plurality is all we're talking about when we discuss this thing. Just remember, it's the mystical, philosophical, and logical symbolism of number as it itself symbolizes the manifestation of pretty much divinity at the highest level, from divinity to plurality of manifestation at the bottom. So we were on how the 2 goes into the 3, which is now a it's almost like how the guy postulated there were more elements on the periodic table at the time than there were, is how you have to look at the elemental phase spaces of the tree of life on the Kabbalah between the numbers 2 and 3 at the moment. They're just they go unnumbered. There's like so the 1 through 10, we're talking about a 1 through 10 primarily with 0 above it, but we're talking about the 1 through 10 number scheme. And I am saying to everybody that exhibits magical properties hitherto unbeknownst to anybody, where between the number 2 and 3 is a mystical space, an elemental space that actually has 4 elemental bigrams that do not get numbered, just like the court cards of the minor arcana do not get numbered. So I am saying the number series 1 through 10 itself needs to be scientifically studied, like it kind of is being a little bit in with number philosophy and through mystic sorts of number schemes. So anyway, I think it's pretty much all figured out fairly clearly at the moment, once you just let the number schemes go. There's 2 major number schemes to mystical philosophy. The one I am detailing right now, and pretty good detail, it's the 1 through 10 scheme. Now there's another one based upon the magical alphabets, which is 1 through 22 of the Hebrew alphabet, but you can expand it out to the Sanskrit alphabet, so it gets as high as, I think, 1 through 37. But we don't need to discuss that now. I will in another video, and that'll be a lot of fun as well. But now we're just doing the 1 through 10. See, the 1 through 10 got confused with that higher alphabet number scheme. Early on in Jewish mysticism with the Sefer Yetzirah. The Sefer Yetzirah in about, I think they were doing it about 4 to 900 AD now. 500, I don't know. But that tried to wed the 1 through 10 number scheme with the Hebrew alphabet a little bit with that number scheme. And ever since then, the mystics have just taken that for granted that they're wedded in a certain way. Well, that's not really the case. It doesn't have to be the case, and I wouldn't actually just go ahead and take that as an a priori that those two systems are somehow wedded together, like everybody wants to do with the 10 spheres of the tree of life and the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet. That they could be two separate kind of schemes, and I think they are more than a lot of people think. So where the paths on the tree of life as they currently are in the Hermetic Kabbalah, not really very important as far as symbolism go. Maybe a little magical, but I've got my own kind of thing that I was going to show people, and I think it's more important than the paths on the tree of life. So anyway, I wanted to make that clear that the alphabet 1 through 22 up to 1 through 37 is kind of a different scheme that I was able to penetrate. We're going to get that into that later, but right now we're talking about a 1 through 10 scheme, which I think is both apparent in the Hermetic tree of life and the chakras. So I wedded the tree of life and chakras together based upon pure descending number. Unlike many people, I was able to see that they're basically just doing number philosophy there. So the 1 Sahasrar Keter, Ajna, Hokma Ajna, Binah, Vishuddha, Kesed Anahata at the heart, and then Gebura Manipura, like a power center right there at the liver. Tiferet Svadhisthana at the stomach as the happy person, the jovial, the stomach laughter, the fat belly of the Buddha, the nourished soul, the nourished baby getting the mother's while still in the womb, the baby gets all the nourishment there. The symbolism is the sun nourishes humanity. That's the primal nourishment is the sun, and that's the belly button. So that's the sun trigram that I'm adumbrating. And then below that is the general genital area is Venus as Netzach. So I think the Indians had it wrong where they broke up the very bottom of the spine trying to make that Muladhara, and then they made the genital Svadhisthana as basically two chakras right very near there in the genital area. I would say not do that and put a large chakra of Muladhara in general right there as Venus, and have that the first yin chakra, have that be the first yin chakra, and then above that is the stomach of the sun and the belly button. So you have Venus and sun right there. And that's where the body bifurcates into the hips. That's where the torso goes into the hips. So that's the first yin trigram of Venus right there. And it's also the shoulders, which women have decently sexy shoulders, as you've witnessed in these last few years, with these shoulders coming kind of in vogue, having open shoulders, which kind of look nice. And you can now see if you can see those as the same as the hips, the outer kind of like a busting out a little bit, and a Venusian. Try to imagine those as sexy Venusian parts of the body, because apparently right when the torso breaks into its legs, into its appendages, is when the yang part of the body becomes the yin part of the body. So super cool. Nobody would even have guessed that. Working with the binary system, you have to correlate the chakras to the tree of life, to the binary system, to the minor arcana of the tarot, and even to geomancy, and have a really good understanding of it all to appreciate this stuff, which is hilarious and funny to me. You know, because I know people are flipping their lids on it, and it actually, it's not terribly important. You can go on and do your meditations and get the get your vital prana going. I'm just telling you the backdrop of symbolism behind creation a little bit, and trying to further the Kabbalah. We don't want to get too bogged down in divided symbolism, because we do want to keep the unity flowing as it is. So let's roll here, sons. We'll keep watching this video.
Comes the 4 bigrams of the Yi Jing.
I'm just doing the 4 bigrams right here, like I was doing a long time ago. Here.
And those are 4 pure elements, and still where the prana is very pure. Now, eventually, those 4 pure elements, they go from fire, air, water, earth in a straight logical manner now. So it wasn't logical quite. It was like spiritual up in the Ein regions of the tree of life, and then you have the Bindu, and then you have the Taijitu. And now, after the Taijitu, the plurality of creation now manifests in a completely logical manner. Like straight, it's like encounters the logicality of time or something like that. And then just pluralizes down in a completely true and logical manner, obeying the beautiful maths of creation. So after the 2 of Taijitu, you've got the 4 bigrams around that that don't get numbered. Like mysteriously kind of, but they're just phases, and they're just like breaths and ways of being. They're like they're pretty holy, you know, they're quite holy still. So those are just pranas to breathe, to be in, you know, spaces. So with the number 3, you've got the phases. You don't have phases anymore. You start to get chakras. So you got the throat chakra with number 3. Like before, you've had the Sahasrara and the Ajna chakra that you were working with in the Keter and Hokma regions.
We can still keep playing it.
And now we're at the throat chakra of Bana as Saturn with the number 3. And it just pluralizes right down with the body,
down to the fingers and toes, which is Malkut. Malkut is the 10 fingers, 10 toes. So it like actually follows the. It follows the brokenness of the body, the way the body actually breaks. It follows with the binary system, which is completely amazing and blew my mind, and all this stuff kind of blew my mind. But I was able to figure it out over the course of what? Okay, here now. Man, I remember I started this video with a little segedation. I just saw from Carl Sagan himself. But anyway. So from what I gather, we're doing a little comment upon this video 84, magically explaining the magical universe, which I did actually magically explain the magical universe. Pretty kind of more completely, truly a little bit than heretofore. Not really, because there's all kinds of actual yogic meditations and stuff, but logically, which probably, it's perpetually not helping people. But anyway, I'm trying to help. And so the major thing I want people to know is that after the Bindu point and after the Taijitu, really, things start becoming logical. You lose the Zen flow a little bit with the Taijitu. It's all wonderful right here in the Ajna chakra, because it's just love under will. And what it is, you get the sun and the sky above the nature of the trees. So there's a natural blue above green. So it's like planetary. It's like a planetary, beautiful love under will vibration, which is a natural, and that's in the sun. If you just sit outside in the sun on a nice day, maybe seeing the wind blow through some trees, you'll get that blue sky and lush green forest. You'll get that sun hitting your skin. You'll feel that inner love under will, which is a sunshine. It's an inner joy and an inner sunshine. So I'm trying to communicate. I mean, it's kind of my job to try to communicate what it is, but it's still always going to be a little bit symbolized. But we're trying to list some symbols, for those numbers. And I'm not doing anything too new, honestly, because basically I just correlated a bunch of symbol sets together, standard mystical symbol sets that I can list, which is the Jewish Kabbalah, which they have been using as their central mystic system since 1400 at least, before that even. So that's super standard right there. That legitimizes my work, of course. And then I combine that with the Indian chakra system. I have my own correlations, but I give my full logic and details. That's what I'm doing right now. So nothing too wacky. I mean, it's just philosophy lost its naturality a little bit, and we're giving you the Han Dynasty Chinese version of natural Taoist philosophy, kind of updated to 2023, kind of using a variety of number-based mystic symbolism that is extant and out there. You just need to kind of research a little bit of it and put it together, and then get a certain kind of fluidity familiarity going for yourselves. So, but the major point I was trying to get to, what I was hearing in my video that we just listened to, was after the Taiji-2 and the elements cycle off. With the 8 trigrams, you start getting into a logical gamut. So that it's just basically after that nice love under will and elemental thing. I mean, it's still great, but everything coalesces out logically, and you don't get phase spaces anymore. You get congealments into globules, is another cool thing. So the body, coalesces into its energy, into its 8 energy centers of globules. So things start to spherize rather than just have a phase beingness like the great sea, like the ocean. Like you imagine the ocean, it's not like a sphere. It's just a expanse. And that's what the elements are. With the earth is just kind of like a big groundness. But if you can, maybe planetary Earth, you can imagine the globe now. So those 8 divisions, it's how the psyche of humanity has been able to deal with or compute or relate to the number philosophy, the innate number philosophy of existence. So when you take the number 4, the mind can't really separate the number 4 into 4 different things totally, more than just have them as the 4 directional points, the 4 directional ways, and then just the big spaces that entails. So it's not until I postulate, it's kind of like not until the 8 divisions that the human brain kind of starts to just divide those out into separations. It divides those out into more separateness, and with that, you get the 8 chakras on the human body as the 8 globule divisions. So I just want to stress that point. It's kind of an interesting thing how the human psyche kind of like only after a certain point really coalesces number into beingness. So it's how number coalesces down into manifestation a little bit. So, interesting. So that was pretty much it. How the number system we're talking about of 1 through 10, it becomes the logical gamut of permutation after the number 3, and to include the numbers 3 through 10 as the 8 planets. With the 8 planets, everything becomes completely logical as just the permutations of the 8, and then the 16, and then the 32, and then the 64 of the binary system, commonly known as the Yi Jing of the Chinese. So that's how it do. And then the divisions just become down on the body, like I say. So where at that last division, you have the feet and hands as the 10 fingers and toes of the body, is the number 10 as the 10th Sephirot Malkut. Sephiroth Malkut. Darn. 50-50 dropped in the crapper. But the 5th, what? 5th of whiskey? Where? No, just kidding. The 10th sphere of Malkut, the 10th Sephirah, is the last trigram of the Yijing, and that's the planetary Earth. Cha-ching. Let's listen. 1990, 1995 to 2000. Okay, my timestamp of these discoveries: 1995, I first discovered the 4774 sword. No big deal there. 2001, I did a lot of work on grammatometria. 2002, I first did these Yijing trigrams to the Tree of Life in a sequential order. And then it wasn't until 2020 where I could, definitively want to postulate the Taiji as the number 2 as Hokmah upon the Tree of Life. But right when I first postulated in 2002 that the 8 trigrams ran straight down the Tree of Life from 3 to 10, I immediately, I think that day actually, which is, whatever, I invented the 16 tetragrams and the 32 pentagrams. I drew them out and had them almost correctly probably identified as the elemental counter changes and the planetary elemental counter changes, and worked those out and knew they were associated with the minor arcana. It was just logical to me. So hadn't been logical to anybody that I've seen yet, but that doesn't mean people haven't thought about that, it seems like. But you never know. Let's listen to some more. About 25 years. So I didn't piece together the how important the binary system was to the Tree of Life. All right, yeah, I have to stop there. I wish I would have seen that, because it all fits together right now. Once you just, the Tree of Life doesn't even have to be the Tree of Life right now, as it commonly is. It can be, you don't even have to postulate a Tree of Life. You can postulate a Fuzi arrangement where Keter is the center bindu, the Taiji 2 is just the circle, and then the 4 elemental bigrams. That's another big discovery. I discovered that symbol was incorrect, because the 4 elemental bigrams are actually the cardinal points. Whereas that the common martial arts diagram has the first trigram is the vertical part. It's not the first the 2 trigrams right in the south is like this, whereas my head would be the fire bigram, and then you would have Saturn here, and then you'd have Jupiter right here, and then you'd have the Taiji down here. That's how it actually is. That's why, like, Chinese, like, geomancy is kind of off a little bit, I think. Anyway, the Feng Shui. So that's how it goes. And those are called the secondary intercalary directions. It's like south-south-west would be there. South-southwest, and then south-southeast would be the Jupiter. That's how you would write it. They're called the secondary intercalary, and that's where they occupy upon the compass, not at the cardinal directions. So you have to change that martial arts diagram to truly represent those energies properly, and that becomes one of the truest. It becomes right on par with the Hebrew tree of life. So they were right on. The Chinese were actually right on it. It turns out. I just don't think they knew quite the exact correlations of the binary system. So pretty amazing. That becomes just as important as the Hebrew tree of life, because it's a true representation from the Bindu to even more of the binary system than the tree of life figures symbolizes. It pretty much stops at the last trigram, where you can keep going into the 16 tetragrams. And I kind of like just thinking that's everybody drinking some beers a little bit down here. It's the 16 core cards. And then the 32 gets them a little bit of jinky jankies, like a little bit of problems, things. You get things breaking down maybe a little bit down on the road there. Anyway, I'm not going to go into anything. It's just court cards, and then the after that bifurcation is the 32 pentagrams of the. It's the 3 through 10 pip cards of each elemental suit of the minor arcana. Easy. Let me see here. I did have around 2002. I knew Crowley's trigrams weren't really right, and I knew it was a lot more magical. Well, if the top 3 lines are the planet,
Inspire and help my will crack you some bitches all along that path. Here we go. So here you got my
correlation, Sonny.
this is basically my tree of life to binary correlations, and I differ from Aleister Crowley in that I let those trigrams run straight down the tree of life in yang to yin order. Okay?
I swear.
So I've got Mars is that, Tipperet is that, Metzak is that, 8, 9, 10, planetary Earth, all right? So I got those linear correlations, okay? And I've already explained in the previous video how the number 2 is the actual Taiji 2 of the common martial arts symbolism. And then, unbeknownst to all adepts hitherto, before now in video, is that after the number 2 of Hokmah, which is the Taiji 2, there is a phase space of elemental symbolism between the numbers 2 and the numbers 3, and they do not get numbered. Just like the court cards of the minor arcana do not get numbered, those elements do not, the pure element, 4 pure elements do not get numbered within the magic reality that we are in. It's as simple as that. So in this magical reality, the elements do not get numbered. It's a secret that is brought out, is proven by the court cards of the tarot, and is brought out by this, the correlations of the tree of life to the binary system that I am adumbrating right here. So after the Taiji 2 of Hokma as 2, where both opposites are in a complementary union of love under will and a mid-state unity between the totality of the unity and the beginning of the gamut of duality.
The duality of the what? Okay. No, I'm not. I was just stopping to be a fly in the ointment here. Okay, the duality of the unity. No, wait, what is it? The totality of the unity. Yes, the totality of the. I just thought that was funny. The totality of the unity. Anyway, the totality of the unity. Oh, the Pneuma Agion. So that's how you do it, sons. You just have to break down trinary philosophy. And then once you break down trinary, you get interested in binary philosophy, because all trinary philosophy are the two opposites given their synthesis, and the father-mother given their child. And then you have the Indian Sat Chit Ananda. It's wonderful. It's like, so that's not quite the how that formula fits on the aim. Let me get this echoplex flickering down a little bit. Oh no. Okay. So Sat Chit Ananda, that would be father, son, mother. Because Chit, there's no way Chit is the mother. Chit is consciousness. So that's the golden child. And then Sat is the father. So that would be sulfur. And he would, and so the Chit is the mercury. The consciousness is the mercury. And the mother is the salt in the body. The passive, that which, like the space. On the space wherein the action occurs is a good description of the mother and father in a yin and yang kind of thing, where you have shade and sun, non-action and action. Okay. So that's really all you need. That's an ultimate bitheism right up there. But with the child, you get the first conception of Mercury, because you see that child with the winged disc and the flash. That kid can apparently go back and forth in like a communicatory ecstasy, even, of communication between the father and the mother. Because remember, the father and mother are the two mathematical opposites of 0 and infinity. So if you imagine something going back and forth between those two ultimate opposites, you have the first mercurial conception of that child as the communicator, and then the also the revelator, maybe the partaker of the gnosis. Probably people getting high way back when. So my conception on like cannabis is pretty good, because I think those trichomes absorb the sunlight, so you get photons. I think it's a photon, a way to add photons to your, which awakens your Shivite third eye. Basically makes the Phos Theou, the light of God, a little bit, because the sun contains the light of God a little bit. So I think that's just a natural kind of thing. I'd be in, cannabis anyway. As far as the ancient Vedic societies, probably utilize that in their shamanic practices. All right, we're moving right along. Let's hear some more. So here we go. We move to the number 3, which is Saturn, and the utmost heavenly trigram. Okay. So we got the 8 trigrams, and then the next are the 16 tetragrams, and the 16 geometric figures are directly correlated to the 16 tetragrams if you just standardize them to be bottom up in nature, just like the bigrams are. All those geometric figures are that nobody realized are just 2 sets of bigrams. So they are structurally, and it makes no sense to adopt a top-down order for them. You just kind of have to adjust the symbolism perhaps a little bit, but that is the correct correlation of the 16 tetragrams of the I Ching to the 16 geometric figures to the 16 court cards of the minor arcana. If you look at it structurally, those are similar grams, which nobody's been able apparently to correlate together. Just structurally, those are the same. Those are telling you that's the gram. And then, so you've got the 16 court cards and their grams in a very certain order. That means the geometric grams have to follow suit. You can't have 2 different ways of structuring them. That's what I'm saying. Just standardize the binary system is the key. And so after that, you get into the 32 pentagrams of the I Ching, which are the pip cards 3 through 10, because on the Tree of Life 3 through 10 is the 8 planets. You just kind of take that over to the minor arcana, and the pip cards 3 through 10 are the planetary counterchanges of the 4 elemental suits, where the aces are the pure elements, the deuces each have 2 trigrams, so it goes right in order. You have the bigram of the element. We can take wands as the example. The ace of wands is pure elemental fire. The deuce of wands are the first 2 trigrams. They exist in a mirrored Taiji 2-like relationship together. So you've got Saturn and Jupiter, the trigrams for planetary Saturn and Jupiter. In harmonious conjunction is the 2 of wands. Truly theorized and given interpretation. And then the three of wands through the 10 of wands are the pentagrams of like Saturn of fire, Jupiter of fire, Mars of fire, Sun of fire, Venus of fire, Mercury of fire, Moon of fire, and planetary Earth of fire. And those create pentagrams. Okay, I think we got that. We got that pretty good. And then as just bifurcations upon those 3 through 10 pip cards of the planetary counterchanges of the elements are the Chinese 64 hexagrams of the I Ching. They might have to be given a little bit different or interesting symbolism being that, but you can correlate those together to their tarot pip card right now and check them out. So and you can start adding some symbolism to these. So it's all like a pretty open system. But that's pretty much it. That's the magical universe and it's all kind of like even down to the 64 hexagrams of the I Ching, as far as the binary system. That's all if you can imagine it, that's all a probability cloud, and that's all the permutations, mathematical permutations of that probability cloud as it goes from the total plurality level of the 64 hexagrams in a pyramid-like structure to the 32 pentagrams, to the 16 tetragrams, to the 8 trigrams, to the 4 bigrams, and then you have the Taiji 2 of the 2 unigrams and a complementary harmony, and then you have the De, which is the center Bindu point of the Tao, and the Tao is actually the infinite way, and that's a field of infinite. That's when you break upon the infinite of the hidden triad within the number 0. And then beyond the Tao is the Wu Ji of the Taoists, and that's the Ein Sof area of the Tree of Life. And then, as complementary to the Wu Ji, is the Wu, is the Ein of the Tree of Life, and it's the Father, Mother, as Hadet and Nuit. So, Crusos, I think I pretty much rolled with it right there. Let me check it. Of the creative, major elemental planets. The major symbolism of Hokmah is the Taiji 2. Oh, I do want to do one more point. It's not, so we can do the 2 pillars of here it is in the video. It's the right here, and then the left. The right is the main, is 4. There's the pillars, like on the Tree of Life, there's the Yang pillar, and then there's the Yin pillar. The current Kabbalah teaching has it wrong, and my new binary approach, I think, has it right. So where the numbers 3 through 6 right here is 3, 4, 5, 6 are the 4 Yang trigrams. And then you got 7, 8, 9, 10 as the 4 Yin trigrams. So that's how in number philosophy, those numbers are Yang and Yin comparatively. And I think that's the primary way to interpret that. And then the number 2 is the Taiji 2, and that's at the center. And then the number 1 is the day and the point of light, the unitary point of light, and that's also the Ankh symbol of the Egyptians. It's like a God symbol. It's God realization is one word for it, self-realization. And that's the first stage of a lot of self-realization schools, or the self-realization schools, maybe. And I could get into that a little bit later, but there's like a little bit of stages of self-realization there that kind of break once self-realized a little bit, or deepen and into further kind of flower, just like the top flower of the Sahasrara Keter chakra. Okay, and that's just the center Bindu and the Holy Spirit. That's the Holy Spirit point right there. That's when you do your meditations and your pranayama and your rituals. You're kind of churning that and invoking that, and that gets that's very unified, and the soul, just the human needs that being vitalized within the self, and that's how you kind of get yourself God inspired, or a little bit of divinity coursing through you, so you can easily flow throughout the day. It's really just that Holy Spirit. That's the ultimate symbolism of daily, the what is being invoked in daily meditation and ritual practice is just the pneuma agion, the Holy Spirit. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of what vivifies. So it's kind of a unitary, and that's the center, like in the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram in magic, for instance. You go around the four quarters, and you identify with each of the four quarters, and that identifies you with each of the four psychological types. So you get like a real deep unity with those four aspects, and you start at the east as the dawn, with the dawn sun. So you go east, south, west, north, and you go and then it's dawn, noon, evening, and night. And you pretty much always banish the elements because you're looking to get further into the center of yourself, into the Taijitu area, or higher of existence. So a good, nice flow state and a nice unity of is what you're doing. You're just keeping your unity going nicely, and through yoga and magic breath. So you can have this Satora Repo Opera Rotus, the fourfold breath. You don't have to. You can just be normal pranayama, but you can do a fourfold breath. And not sure, I guess it doesn't matter, but breathe out a little bit, and then you inhale the Greek word Satora Repo Opera Rotus, which equals 4,774. And I'm not going to do it individually. Let me see. Yeah, makes me skin sco a little bit here. Okay, let me breathe out. Now I can breathe it in. While I was breathing in, I was imagining the two Greek words sator arepo that I held by breath, and now I will breathe out the other nostril while imagining the words opera rotas. Oh boy, it's windy in here. Opera rotas. So you go sator repo, breathe in always, and then the opera rotas is the exhale. So you get the yang of the inhale, and then the yin of the exhale. And then you cycle that. You want to basically be kind of gentle, actually. A lot of people push it, like keep pushing it, but you get on a nice perpetual, little bit of a gentle. You hold the up breath a lot longer than you will want to hold the down breath, but you can hold the down breath or just not, depending upon how you like to do it. But breathe in, hold that. Got to get high there. Got to let that oxygen sink into the brain. Breathe it all out. Hold it a little bit, and you can kind of establish some willpower there. Straight up. I wasn't even doing. It's just breath. But you can go Sator Repo, Opera Rotas, and then like what it equals 4,774. And so it's zero. So like the four elements right into zeroness, which is kind of interesting. It's like rather than any, there's not really any kind of even bindu, which is, it's like 4 equals 0. Can I swim this? No, I cannot swim this. I gotta see this video through.
10 fingers and toes, okay? And another thing is right when the body becomes duality at the genitals and shoulders level, right when that torso bisects itself into two, is when the yang switches to yin. That is my major discovery, and how it all correlates together, and part of my proof of why the Indians got it wrong by making Muladhara the very bottom of the spine, and then putting Svadhisthana as the genitals. I moved that up. I put Muladhara as the genital area, and then I put Svadhisthana as the nourishing belly button of the sun, and then I put Manipura as the liver and as the power center of Mars. And that's how I think it happens. And then I put the heart chakra as Jupiter, and that's it. And then I also think when sitting down, all of those yin centers of Muladhara on down are correlated basically to the lotus, while the Buddha is sitting upon the lotus. So that's all lotus from the Muladhara genital chakra on down. And then from up, I think it's yang. And so you basically have a natural perpendicular sign. You have the horizontal line as the lotus, the Buddha sitting upon it, and the vertical sign up and in the air, which is the pranayamic yogi. And then above all of that is the Taiji 2 of the yin and yang of the left and right brain working harmoniously together in love and will, pure unity. And then you have the Sahasrara above that, which is the very center bindu of the circle. It all makes completely sense.
Completely.
And then above that, of course, is the Phoenix Multiverse Sun, which is the Ein Sof R, and then you have the true sacred 4774, child gnosis, being born forevermore upon the earth's floor, and then it's all complete crucifix. But then above that, it's of course Father, Mother as Hadit, the 4774 will, below the Mother's, in this case, well, 444323
is the child, right?
Do it, thou wilt shall be the whole of the law, and then love is the law, love and the will. The shorthand is will love. And that's the ultimate duality, the ultimate bitheism of the universe, which of course is an ultimate Taiji 2 at the very top, which means a completely unitary complementarity, a complementarity. So there's an absolute unitary complementarity at the very top, which is first summated by the child. And that's the first summation. So as such, that first summation gets relegated to the very height, and you have 4774 as the key of it all down here. Chillin', bitch. See ya. Super high, super fly, super...
About that now. So what we were partaking of before, the popsicle started stuttering again was that everyone is the magical child. Everyone was born as a child, no matter their gender. Every man and every woman is a star thing. Because right at the top you have the sulfur salt Mercury, and the Mercury is without gender. So that is the birth of the holiest Holy Spirit, the holiest conception of the Holy Spirit is the third principle, and that which exists between the Father and the Mother as a mathematical principle. It's basically if you have 2 points, it would be the line kind of connecting them. But the 2 points, not really 2 points, it's the two mathematical opposites of the zeroness principle and the limitless principle. That which like contracts and that which has already expanded and is infinity. That has already existed, that has already existed eternally. So it's the infinite eternality as the backdrop of any kind of physicality, which first gets space-time conjuncted with the Bindu point, and then pluralizes from that unity into the tree of life, and we end up here in Malkut as the 8th trigram of the binary system. That's pretty good. All right. So that was all good, and then stressed it pretty good, but it's one of my proofs that we're on to the right chakra. Tree of life binary system correlation is how the planetary chakras begin to become yin dominant right when the torso of the body breaks into its appendages. And so that's when the torso breaks into two symbolically, and that's when the yang of the torso becomes the yin of its appendages. Because like when you think of an animal, a mammal like we are, we've got this torso, we've got a head, which is, you can think of our head as kind of our brain center, so it's kind of like still in a unity phase along with the torso. But once we just break into our four appendages, being the arms and legs, you kind of get into a more animalistic, physical, functional role, like of those appendages, as far as like keeping us standing, keeping us walking, letting us interact with our world, getting things done, stuff like that. So that's more, it breaks from the yang, the heaven of yang, to the earth of yin a little bit there. And then let me state that you don't always have to be thinking about that, but one of the, it will let you figure these energies out. You can use abrahadabra, the 11-fold word of abrahadabra. You can say the first A is the Ein Sof R, and then the B is the Bindu of Keter, and then that goes right down to the hands. So when you feel any kind of oppression or anything, just go abrahadabra and imagine the last A as your hands, and you have a nice, like, abrahadabra. You got a instantaneous energetic discharge that is a lot better than trying to mull around any kind of, you know, long, drawn out energy. So it's always preferably a little bit of rhythm to the to an abrahadabra, and it's in the abrahadabra triangle, and it's the 1 through 11, and abrahadabra is 11, so it's all the magic. The 11 is kind of the magic realm, because 11 is Jupiter in the tarot, and that's Isa, the Isa rune, and that's an icicle. So it's the like looking at an icicle, the magic in an icicle. It's the magic. It's the beatific vision. But it's the magic vision. Is 11. 11 squared then is magic. Magic times magic is 121. But I don't even think I ever did explain the 121 as the Ein Sof R. It's embedded in Thelema. So it is a hexagram number, and it's what the Chinese checkers game is based on. There's 121 little rivets for those balls that they're moving on. It's called a star number. Like I did get into that, but the most simple one is like 13, but then 37, and that's the Jewish Star of Israel. That's a soul symbol of the Yekidah. But anyway, 121 is right up on the Ein Sof R, and you get in Syro-Greek a few good ones. You get Phos Theou is 121, which is the light of God. So that's how you know 121 should be associated with the light of God as the Ein Sof R, and that it's a true, and as the 11 squared, it's 11 and 11. But anyway, let me state that 121 is also Chrysos, gold in Greek. And it was originally pronounced Chrysos, and then gets into Chrysos, which gets into Christ, gets into chrysanthemum, golden colored kind of stuff. But that's the original Christ current that I love, because it's proven in the Kabbalah is 121 serially. So you can put that as the Ein Sof R and have a really nice mantra and word. And then also another word for the Ein Sof R is Jesus Christos, as Jesus Christ. So you can work with because that's the son. He's the child as this common figure. So he's the son and the child archetype as it is. So just put the golden Christ child right at the Ein Sof R, and you've got Jesus Christos. Real nice thing there. And but he's also, that equals 800. I think Jesus equals 888 in Greek. So that parallels the 888 of the magic portion of the will plus love plus light equals magic formula that I called the universal equation of religion. So that's the Keter point, where Thoth is at that point as the magic, as 888. What's Thoth Mercury? The Thoth is whatever. The Thoth. Othoth. It's Omicron, Theta, Omega, Theta. Yeah. I love that. The Thoth. The Mercury. The Thoth is 888. So that's the undifferentiated Holy Spirit, is all that is. If you can just get it right together, it's the pneuma. It's the breath of life, but it's undifferentiated. And it's also the yod. It's the light. It's like that. It's condensed. That's why I like coagulatio, is that last alchemical stage. You could say it's kind of like a little bit like the semen of the man, but I don't really like that too much, because a little bit too sexual, because it's beyond any it's beyond sex being the Holy Spirit being the and that's what the whole world is made of, is the Bindu. The whole world's made from the Bindu, and we are actually just in the Bindu. It's all a big magic middle, but it's called the middle between. Middle between 47 plus 74 in serial English grammatometria, where A equals 1 and Z equals 26. Middle between equals 47 plus 74 equals 121. And that's where the magical child is, as Horpar Kra, as the Ein Safar, as Jesus Christ, as Woden, as the original shaman, as the original magical child, the infinite child, the multiversal child. I guess the sun, the multiversal phoenix sun right there. It's like a phoenix. I've had a vision of a phoenix just splaying out like gold, and then you got like all these adepts kind of going in and out of its body as the Bindu, kind of like the spirit Bindu adept, kind of like the Ipsissimus kind of guys, just kind of going in and out of like this multiversal phoenix, that is, it's kind of like a MCX, the MCXI 1111, kind of on each side of the Egyptian temples at Karnak. The 1111 posted right in there, like on the rivets, just 2 1s on each side. I like that. Because it's the 121, 11 times 11. You get the 121, which is the Phos Theou and the Chrysos and the Gnosis. It's that child Gnosis, which is the synthesis. It aims to be the synthesis of all. So, you don't have to take it super duper seriously, but it does aim to be the Trinitarian unity of religion, and like a golden, like warm sunshine. So where it's the Ajna eye, so the Horus eye, the right eye of Horus, basically is that Shiva light, as the triune Shiva light of the trident right here, the trident on the head. Then you have the horizontal mark. Then you have 2 prongs to beat the biters down a little bit. All right. Anything else? I think we're all right. Wow, that was a good one, boys. So we learned pretty much everything. Okay. No, but I'm just trying to summate, because like I know you don't really understand it until you're able to orate it. I was able to even learn a lot of new stuff, like the triad is kind of the first attempt to summate and synthesize religion, rather than just a bitheism. This gets a little bit that's almost too abstract right up there. But again, supplement all of this, of course, with daily practice of yoga and magic, optimally, and to get your Pneuma Hagion vital. And one pointed practice dot meditation called Tratak. Just practice staring at a dot without closing your eyes as much as possible and as keenly as possible. That'll really help out people's vision nowadays, which has gotten dull from computer use, computer and TV use. So keep you sharp. That's great, especially in this age of Horus, where the eyesight and the true vision, it'll stimulate creativity and even probably the logos in yourself. That's a good basic practice. So, of course, Hatha Yoga, ideal. Hope to do more of that myself. So, all right. So we got do what the will should be, the whole of the law, love is the law, love under will. Those two axioms, will, love, and then you can imagine all those words I've just spoken in this video. That's the center mercurial flux in between. If I just said do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law from the get-go, and now say love is the law, love under will as my final words. And okay, so let me do a little PS here and further explain my order. It's called the New Abrahadabra, and it used to be called the New Freemasonry. And what I was trying to say in the last video is I changed that because I knew it would be too close in name to the Nevada chapter of present day traditional Freemasonry online. I didn't want to commingle any different magical currents and keep everything clear and separated, because the New Abrahadabra is a new way to interpret the serial tarot in an initiatory ladder, sequential initiatory ladder, leading up to the highest levels of the tree of life. And that's a new alphabet-based number scheme that I'll be discussing soon. So the New Abrahadabra, I think this was meant to be that I should establish the New Abrahadabra here, and that's going to be kind of one of the cool initiatory orders. It's all self-initiation, it's all philosophy. So I can put it all in philosophy and have people really making good strides just from a knowledge point of view, and them doing practices just like it should be, because it's all basically you doing, some work and all that. Okay. So I should be doing practices on the New Abrahadabra. So what I wanted to clarify was I kind of misspoke a little bit. The New Abrahadabra is actually the first words of the first 3 chapters of the Book of the Law of Aleister Crowley. If you don't accept Had as the first word of the first chapter. I think my order, being kind of a thelemic person, was able to discover the true and what is to become the dominant spiritual order on earth, which is called the New Abrahadabra. And remember, I was originally calling the order the New Freemasonry, So that has 11 letters, Freemasonry does. So I knew I had to change that word because I didn't want it being mistaken with the Nevada chapter of the new of Freemasonry, of traditional Freemasonry. So I went through a bunch of words, and one of them was I knew world order. I was thinking about it upon a seal. So where you go seal of the new, and new is the first two letters up top of the seal. I wanted the new as the first two letters. It was based upon a 36 rayed circle because I go with how many degrees there are in the magical universe. And I postulate there are 37 as 1 in 36, where that 1 is Hadid at the very center of the universe, and 36 rays around him, which is Nuit. So in that symbolism, there's 37 degrees, but there's only 36 spaces on that outer seal. So when you go seal of the new Freemasonry, and then what that does is leave 8 spaces at the very bottom, and you want a space in between each word, so that fit a 6-letter word. And so then I knew that it was Thelema, Aleister Crowley's Thelema, meaning will, that was supposed to occupy that center spot, that bottom spot, which gives the symbolism of the ever-present fire of will burning in proper heat or application in regard the human adept throughout time. As far as just doing some religious practice. So the actual symbol of that order is just like the great, on the back of the dollar, the Great Seal of America, which is the truncated pyramid and the the Eye of Providence. Above it, which is the shining third eye of Shiva, pretty much, is what it correlates to. So that's pretty standard stuff. But upon that, there are actually these 7 chakras, and then you should be able to imagine a sitting Buddha, where his legs is the base of that truncated pyramid. That's how it overlays. And then the third eye is actually where the light is, at the Eye of Providence. And then the very top apex is the Sahasrara chakra. And then what happens is the throat area, that's where the truncated, it's right upon the nape of the neck. So imagine somebody cutting your head off right at the shoulders. That's the top of the truncated pyramid. And then there's a little bit of an abyss. And then you have the beginning of the throat chakra. So the first 3 chakras are above the abyss, technically, of the tree of life, you can philosophize, and above the abyss point of where the Eye of Providence separates from the truncated pyramid, which is another kind of cool thing. Pretty cool, I thought. So it's basically like a floating head a little bit, because you have these 3, the Sahasrara, Ajna, and Vishuddha chakras. And that's the shining triangle, where the triangle is depicted as the third eye chakra. So it's cool. Um, so that's a pretty universal seal. Real simple. Seal of the new Abrahadabra. So what I didn't know, and what I think was the magical strand here, and the magically important thing, is that now, since I went towards naming it the new Abrahadabra, just like the new magic, the new gnosis, the new word. Abrahadabra is the word, the new word. It's all kind of, it's just simple. There wasn't too many 11-letter words, so I was kind of searching. Uh, World Order does fit seal of the new world order, because world order has 10 spaces, and then you leave one space in between world and order. So it's like seal of the new Freemasonry, seal of the new world order, seal of the new Abrahadabra. That does fit, but there's no reason to get Illuminati like that. Although I do like that Adam Weishaupt was the first to kind of adopt the sun symbol, and the sun symbol is composed of the dot and the circle. So I do love that symbolism, because that's one of the pure conceptions of father, mother, child. You've got father as the dot, the mother as the circle, and then the child is the combination of the dot and circle as the sun symbol. So right there you get that gnosis right there of a solar type light gnosis, like implied. So it's kind of interesting. You don't really want to, you can like we're at the we got our stuff together enough to be able to kind of go towards proving stuff at this point, rather than just try to aim in the dark and make stuff up. You can pretty much the number based Kabbalah philosophy, and intersected with the binary system, I think is pretty much the hidden. It's kind of where divinity coalesces into matter a little bit, because I can postulate the 4774 sigil as the key of it all, and I can say that I figured out what Einstein was trying to do by having a simple Jean D, like the hieroglyphic monad approach to reality, where he just said this symbol is most perfectly represents the totality of reality. I can actually say that myself and say that's what Liber Legis 347 was trying to say that someone would achieve, to finding the key of it all. And I think it's just the symbol of the trident on the head, like this, trident like that, of like Shiva. And so it's like the two fours symmetrized, and then you've got this as a horizontal line, and then you've got two sevens. So I like the 4-7 plus 7-4. 47 plus 74 right there on the head. It's kind of like a phoenix magical child gnosis, where 47 plus 74 is 121, 11 squared. You get that kind of child thing right there. So that's my vote for that. And then I like Hor Par Krat in Hebrew is HURPRKRT. It equals 121 and 1111 in Hebrew. If you just, make a Hebrew God name out of it. So I love that. I think that's the ultimate word of creation. Pretty much just like I adumbrate. 4 7, the 7 4, that sigil, that glyph is the key of it all. I like that. And then I like, as the God name of that, Horpar Krat. So I love that. And I like saying that name as the sun kind of gets on me. It's like Horpar Krat. It's real natural. It's a real natural man name. Like I was talking last video about the man of the tarot, key 12, number 13. 13 equals 40 is water. So it's like 13 is the Christ with the 12 apostles and the unity. So it's like basically Christ arisen, but Christ rejoicing and Christ triumphant. So it's not really the hangman, I don't think it's the man. And so you have the man, and I think a good Hebrew name for the man is Horpar Krat, the child god of just naturality, pretty much the son, or even the daughter, just the human being at that point. At that point of the water, the man, it's just basically the human being that's primarily made of water. So it's kind of like the Buddha enlightenment consciousness and the Christ consciousness as number 13 and 40 as the man. It does fit in. I just started talking about it, but it fits in with the Ein Sof as the man. Oh, right there. It's like the savior a little bit. So I bet I can pretty much roll on that. We'll see ya. Cruces. Love is the law. Love under will.